Chosen one, why does Thursday feel different in your spirit? Why have you been waking up at 3 a.m. with a weight pressing on your chest that doctors can't explain? Why does it feel like something invisible is reaching for you? Something you can't name but your soul recognizes. Let me tell you something that might shake you. What if the very thing you've been calling anxiety is actually anticipation? What if heaven has been trying to get your attention and you've been mistaking divine disruption for disturbance? Chosen one. Stop right there. Before you scroll past this moment, before you dismiss what I'm about to tell you, your spirit already knows. There's a reason you clicked on this message. There's a reason your finger didn't swipe away. Thursday is not just another day circled on your calendar. It's been circled in the unseen realm. Heaven doesn't operate on coincidence, it operates on covenant. And this Thursday carries a divine seal with your name engraved on it. You feel it, don't you? That stirring in your chest, that pressure behind your ribs, that sudden catch in your breath when you're sitting alone in the quiet. That's not anxiety, beloved. That's alignment. Your soul is picking up frequencies that your mind hasn't caught up to yet. Something sacred is arriving. Not randomly, not accidentally, personally. While the rest of the world sees Thursday as just another day to get through, you, chosen as you are about to experience it as a corridor, a divine passage. A moment when the invisible becomes undeniable. You've been carrying weight that no one applauded you for. You've endured storms that had no witnesses. You've held on when letting go would have been easier. But here's what heaven has been doing while you waited, preparing a delivery date. And that date is Thursday. This isn't motivation, this is confirmation. What you're about to receive isn't something you have to chase, it's something you have to recognize. If you're feeling that pull right now, if something in your spirit just shifted while reading these words, don't ignore it. Type I receive it in the comments below. Not as superstition, but as agreement. You're telling heaven, I'm ready, I'm listening, I'm aligned. And before I go further, I want to honor those of you who have supported this ministry through super thanks. You're not just giving, you're sowing seeds into a message that reaches souls drowning in silence. Your generosity plants light in dark places. Whether you give or simply stay and listen, your presence here matters deeply. If this resonates with your soul, go ahead and let that seed fall where it's meant to grow. Stay with me until the very end, because before this message closes, I'm going to tell you exactly how to recognize what's coming and what to do when Thursday arrives, carrying the answer you've been praying for in secret. Have you ever wondered why certain days echo in your spirit before they even arrive? Why does your soul feel restless on a Tuesday but strangely expectant about a Thursday that hasn't yet dawned? What if the calendar you're looking at is only showing you half the story and the other half is written in a realm you can't see with human eyes? Let me ask you something that might unsettle you. What if the delays you've been cursing were actually divine appointments you didn't recognize? Beloved, some days pass by you like strangers on a crowded New York sidewalk. They come, they go, they leave no mark. But then there are days that don't pass by you at all. They wait for you. They stand at the intersection of time and eternity with your name written on them in heaven's handwriting. This Thursday is one of those days. It's not coming to you randomly. It's been scheduled, ordained, marked. You see, time is not what you think it is. Time is not just a measurement of hours ticking forward on a clock. Time is a living, breathing organism in the hands of God. And when heaven moves, time itself bends. It curves. It creates pockets, corridors, sacred passages where the natural and the supernatural collide. Thursday is one of those corridors. The prophet Habakkuk saw this thousands of years ago when God spoke through him and said, "For the vision is for an appointed time. It hastens to the end. It will not lie. Though it tarries, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not delay." Habakkuk 2-3. Read that again slowly. It will not delay, not because it's early, not because it's late, but because it arrives exactly when heaven scheduled it. You thought delays meant denial, didn't you? You thought when the door didn't open last year, it meant God forgot about you. You thought when the breakthrough didn't come in the timing you expected, it meant you missed your moment. But chosen one, what if I told you that every closed door was divine choreography? What if every not yet was heaven buying time to set the stage perfectly for this Thursday? God doesn't operate on your urgency. He operates on His accuracy. And when He moves, He doesn't just move things around you. He moves things inside you first. That's why you've been feeling different. That restlessness, that heaviness in your chest at 3 in the morning. That unexplainable sense that something is shifting, even though nothing around you looks different yet. Your spirit knows before your mind catches up. Your soul picks up frequencies that your flesh is too distracted to hear. And right now, your soul is telling you, Thursday is not ordinary. There's an invisible appointment written in a book you've never seen. Psalm 139:16 tells us, "Your eyes saw my substance, being yet unformed. And in your book they all were written, the days fashioned for me, when as yet there were none of them." Do you hear that? The days fashioned for you. Not random, not accidental. Fashioned, designed, sculpted with intention. Thursday was fashioned for you before you even knew you'd need it. Before you prayed that desperate prayer. Before you cried those silent tears. Before you wondered if anyone in heaven was even listening. This day has been waiting in the wings of eternity, and now it's stepping onto the stage of your reality. But here's where it gets deep. Here's where the mystery thickens and the glory starts to break through the ordinary. What if I told you that Thursday isn't bringing something new? What if Thursday is simply revealing what's been building behind the curtain for years? Think about it. Every trial you survived, every betrayal you forgave, every night you stayed faithful when walking away would have been easier. Every moment you chose to believe God, even when your circumstances screamed otherwise. All of that wasn't wasted. It wasn't punishment. It was preparation. It was the invisible construction of something so profound that if God had shown it to you too early, you wouldn't have had the capacity to carry it. But now you do. Now your shoulders are strong enough. Now your faith is deep enough. Now your spirit is sensitive enough to recognize what Thursday is delivering. Heaven doesn't send packages to the wrong address, and it doesn't deliver gifts to people who aren't ready to steward them. The fact that Thursday is approaching with this level of weight means you've been approved, processed, refined. You've graduated from the season of preparation into the season of manifestation. You've been walking through a wilderness that had no audience. You've been faithful in the dark when no one was watching. You've been holding on to promises that looked like they expired. But God was watching. Heaven was recording. And this Thursday, the recordings start playing back in your favor. I need you to understand something that might shake your theology but will solidify your faith. God's delays are not His denials. They are His setups. When a farmer plants a seed, he doesn't dig it up every day to check if it's growing. He waters it. He protects it. He waits for the appointed time when the soil releases what it's been holding beneath the surface. You've been underground, chosen one. But Thursday is your breaking through the soil moment. The enemy wanted you to think you were buried, but God was planting you. And what's about to sprout from your life is going to shock everyone who thought your season was over. They're about to see that you weren't delayed, you were being developed. You weren't forgotten. You were being fashioned. You weren't abandoned, you were being appointed. This Thursday holds an invisible meeting between your faith and God's faithfulness. Between your patience and His promises, between your brokenness and His restoration. And when those two forces collide, the atmosphere around your life shifts permanently. So let me ask you directly, are you ready to recognize what's coming? Or are you still so focused on what didn't happen yesterday that you'll miss what heaven is handing you tomorrow? If this word is resonating in the depths of your soul, do something right now, like this message. Share it with someone who's been waiting too long because their Thursday might be tied to yours. There are people in your circle who need this confirmation just as much as you do. Don't let them miss it, because what's coming isn't just for you, it's through you, and the alignment starts now. You've been tired, haven't you? Not just physically tired, anyone can understand that kind of exhaustion. I'm talking about the kind of weariness that sleep doesn't fix, the kind that sits in your bones when you wake up at 3 a.m. and stare at the ceiling, wondering why your body aches for no medical reason, why your chest feels heavy even on good days, why you can't shake this feeling that something is pressing down on you and you can't name it. Let me tell you what that is. That heaviness you've been carrying, that wasn't weakness, that was spiritual tension before divine release. Your doctor can't diagnose it because it's not a disease. Your friends can't understand it because they're not carrying what you're carrying. But God knows exactly what it is. And He allowed it for a reason that will shake you when you finally see it. You thought something was wrong with you. You thought maybe you were losing faith. Maybe you were doing something wrong. Maybe God had forgotten your address. But what if I told you that the weight was actually evidence? Evidence that something massive was being prepared. Evidence that heaven was recalibrating your entire frequency to match what's coming this Thursday. Think about Joseph, 17 years old, dreaming of greatness, favored by his father, hated by his brothers. And then the pit, the darkness, the betrayal. Sold like cattle, thrown into an Egyptian prison for a crime he didn't commit. Year after year, watching time pass while his dreams rotted in the dungeon. Can you imagine the weight he carried, the questions that must have screamed in his mind every single night? God, where are you? You gave me the dream, why am I in chains? But here's what Joseph couldn't see from inside that prison cell. The palace was being prepared. Pharaoh was having dreams that only Joseph could interpret. A famine was coming that would require Joseph's wisdom to prevent mass starvation. The pit wasn't punishment, the pit was preparation. And the weight Joseph felt wasn't abandonment, it was anticipation. God didn't trust Joseph with comfort. He trusted him with weight, because only someone who has been crushed can understand pressure. Only someone who has sat in the dark can recognize light. Only someone who has carried unbearable burdens can manage unbearable blessings. That's you, chosen one. That's why you've felt the way you felt. You've been lonely when everyone else seemed surrounded. You've prayed prayers that echoed back at you like they hit a ceiling. You've believed for things that never came, and doubted whether your faith even mattered anymore. You've watched people with half your integrity get twice your blessings, and you've wondered, what am I doing wrong? Nothing. You were doing nothing wrong. You were being synced. Elijah stood on Mount Carmel and called down fire from heaven. The prophets of Baal were humiliated. The people fell on their faces and declared, "The Lord, He is God." It was the greatest spiritual victory of Elijah's life. And then Jezebel sent one message, and Elijah ran for his life, exhausted, depressed, suicidal, sitting under a tree, begging God to let him die. Does that sound like someone who just won? Does that sound like a prophet who should be celebrating? But God didn't rebuke him. God fed him. God let him sleep. God whispered to him in a still, small voice, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" Because even prophets feel the weight before the rain. Even the anointed experience the pressure before the breakthrough. Elijah's exhaustion wasn't failure. It was the cost of carrying a mantle that required every ounce of his strength. And after the rest, after the whisper, came the instruction, "Go back. Anoint the next generation. Your work isn't finished. Your weariness has been preparing you for your assignment. The sleepless nights have been conditioning your spirit to stay alert. The unanswered prayers have been teaching you to trust without evidence. The loss you've endured has been hollowing out space inside you, so that when God pours, you can hold more than you ever imagined. You weren't being punished. You were being enlarged. There was a woman in the Gospel of Luke, Anna, 84 years old, a widow since her youth. For decades, she never left the temple. Day and night, she fasted and prayed. year after year. Watching young women become mothers while her womb stayed empty. Watching families celebrate while she sat alone. Watching time carve lines into her face while her prayers seemed to go nowhere. But Anna didn't stop. She didn't grow bitter. She didn't walk away. Because deep in her spirit, she knew something was coming. She couldn't see it. She couldn't prove it. But she felt it. And on the day Mary and Joseph brought baby Jesus to the temple, Anna was there. She held the Messiah in her arms. She became one of the first people in history to declare his arrival. All those years of waiting, all that wait, all that wondering, it led to that moment. Do you see it now? Do you see why God trusted you with the long road? He wasn't ignoring you. He was insulating you. He was removing every distraction, every counterfeit comfort, every false solution that would have stopped you from reaching this Thursday. The wait wasn't meant to break you. It was meant to break off everything that wasn't aligned with where you're going. Heaven was never silent. It was syncing you with Thursday's frequency. Every tear you cried in secret deposited grace into your account. Every prayer you whispered through clenched teeth registered in the courts of heaven. Every time you chose to believe when doubt was screaming, you were building spiritual muscle. And now, that muscle is about to lift something you couldn't have carried 5 years ago. You couldn't have carried it last year. You couldn't have carried it last month. But this Thursday, you're ready. You thought you were waiting for God's move, but God was waiting for your readiness. And now he says, you're ready. The weight is lifting. Can you feel it? That subtle shift in the atmosphere around you, that barely perceptible lightness starting to replace the heaviness. That's not wishful thinking. That's spiritual fact. The tension has peaked. The pressure has reached its purpose. And Thursday is the release valve. So when you wake up Thursday morning and your body still feels tired, don't be discouraged. That's just the remnant of what you carried. By Thursday afternoon, you'll notice something different. A clarity you haven't felt in years. A peace that doesn't make logical sense. A knowing that something has shifted, even if you can't point to what changed. That's God keeping his word. That's heaven delivering on the promise that was whispered over you before you even knew you needed it. But here's the question that will determine everything. Will you recognize it when it comes? Or will you dismiss it because it doesn't look like what you expected? Listen closely, because what I'm about to tell you is going to sound impossible until Thursday proves it true. Right now, at this very moment, there is a shift happening in the unseen realm. Heaven's atmosphere is moving, not slowly, not gradually, rapidly, like wind changing direction before a storm breaks open the sky. You can't see it yet, but your body already knows. That's why your sleep has been restless. That's why you felt that strange pressure in your chest, like something is pressing against your ribs from the inside out. Let me ask you something that might unsettle you. What if you've been interpreting spiritual preparation as spiritual attack? What if the heaviness you've been feeling isn't the weight of the enemy, but the weight of glory getting ready to land on your life? Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." But here's what religion won't tell you: that stillness isn't passivity. It's not you sitting frozen in fear waiting for permission to move. That stillness is divine positioning. It's God saying, stop running, stop striving, stop trying to make it happen on your own, because I'm about to do something you can't manufacture. And Thursday is when that something breaks through. You've been in a hallway for too long. Doors on both sides, none of them opening. You've knocked, you've prayed, you've fasted, you've waited until your knuckles bled and your faith felt paper thin. But here's what you didn't see. Heaven wasn't ignoring you. Heaven was timing you. Because some doors don't open until you're ready to carry what's on the other side. And beloved, you are finally ready. This Thursday, the pressure is going to drop. Not the pressure of stress, the pressure of delay. You know how the air gets thick and electric right before a thunderstorm? How everything goes still and the sky turns that deep, heavy gray? That's where you are right now. You're in the moment right before heaven breaks open. And when it does, it won't announce itself with trumpets. It will whisper. It will move through small, sacred moments that your spirit will recognize immediately. A phone call at exactly the right time. A conversation that shifts everything. A door you didn't even know existed suddenly standing wide open in front of you. Your hands might tingle when it happens. Your chest may feel lighter, like someone just lifted a boulder off your lungs. That's not emotion, beloved. That's alignment. That's your soul syncing up with the frequency of what God has been preparing for you in secret. But let me be brutally honest with you, because I love you too much to let you miss this. If you're still holding on to control, you're going to block your own blessing. If you're still trying to figure out the how and the when and the who, you're operating in logic while God is moving in mystery. And mystery doesn't need your permission, it needs your surrender. Jesus didn't ask the paralyzed man at the pool of Bethesda if he understood the process. He didn't give him a roadmap or a timeline. He just said, "Rise, take up your bed, and walk." And after 38 years of waiting, that man stood up. Not because he figured it out, but because he received the word when it came. This Thursday is your word. The world around you will see routine. They'll see another ordinary day, coffee, traffic, bills, obligations. But you, chosen one, you will see revelation. You will see evidence. You will feel the fingerprints of God all over your Thursday in ways that no one else will understand. And you won't need to explain it. You'll just know. Because heaven doesn't need fireworks to move mountains. It moves through whispers, through still, small voices that say, "This is the way, walk in it." Through moments so quiet that only the spiritually awake can hear them. But here's the catch, and this is critical. You have to be paying attention. You can't be distracted by doubt. You can't be drowning in the noise of what didn't happen last week or last year. This Thursday demands your full spiritual awareness. It demands that you show up present, aligned, and expectant. So let me ask you directly, are you ready to receive what you've been praying for, or are you still rehearsing why it won't work? Because those two mindsets cannot coexist. You cannot walk in faith and live in fear at the same time. Thursday is not asking for your fear, it's asking for your yes. If your spirit knows if something inside you just shifted while hearing these words, don't stay silent. Type "Thursday is mine" in the comments right now. Let's flood this atmosphere with agreement. Let's tell heaven, the enemy, and every force that tried to delay you, we are aligned, we are ready, we receive. Because here's what most people will never understand about divine timing. It doesn't wait for you to feel ready. It waits for you to say yes. And Thursday is waiting for your answer. Let me ask you something that might unsettle you. What if everything you've been waiting for has already been shipped? What if the delay you've been interpreting as denial was actually divine packaging? What if Thursday isn't bringing something new, it's delivering something that's been in transit for years? Listen closely, chosen one. Every tear you cried in the dark was postage. Every prayer you whispered through clenched teeth was ink on the envelope. Every moment you chose to believe when doubt screamed louder, that was your signature at the bottom of a holy contract. And this week, heaven is stamping it, delivered. Thursday is not chaos. It's clarity breaking through. You see, we've been taught to expect God's movement to look like earthquakes and burning bushes. We've been conditioned to believe that divine intervention must be loud, dramatic, undeniable to the naked eye. But what if I told you that the most powerful deliveries from heaven arrive wrapped in peace? What if your breakthrough doesn't announce itself with trumpets, but with a sudden, unexplainable calm in your chest? Isaiah 60:22 says it plainly. When the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen. Not when you're ready, not when you've figured it all out. When the time is right. And beloved, the time is Thursday. But here's where most people miss it. They're looking for the miraculous, the bank account that suddenly multiplies, the relationship that magically repairs itself, the diagnosis that reverses overnight. And yes, God can do that. But more often than not, His support shows up in ways that only you will recognize. Because it's personal, it's coded, it's meant for your eyes only. Let me give you the signs. Thursday, you might receive a phone call you weren't expecting. Not from someone important by the world's standards, but from someone whose voice carries a message your soul has been waiting to hear. You might walk into a room and feel a weight lift off your shoulders that's been sitting there for months. You might open an email that contains one sentence, just one that answers the question you never asked out loud. That's not coincidence. That's coordination. You might find yourself driving down a street you've taken 1,000 times, and this time you notice something, a sign, a storefront, a phrase on a billboard that feels like it was written directly to your spirit. You might wake up Thursday morning and realize for the first time in a long time you don't feel the dread. The anxiety that's been your alarm clock for years is simply gone. That's the evidence. God doesn't prove His support with noise, chosen one. He proves it with evidence that no one else can explain. He moves in the margins. He speaks in the details. And when He delivers, it lands so perfectly in your lap that you can't credit luck. You can't credit coincidence. You can only credit Him. But here's the question that's going to sit heavy on your heart tonight. What if you miss it because you're looking for something bigger? What if the miracle you've been begging for has been trying to arrive, but you keep sending it back because it doesn't look the way you thought it would? What if God has been knocking on your door, but you didn't answer because you expected Him to kick it down? Thursday will test your discernment. It will ask you, are you mature enough to recognize favor when it whispers? Are you awake enough to see heaven move in the mundane? Because here's the truth that'll shake you to your core. You'll know it when the impossible stops resisting you. That door you've been pushing on for years. Thursday, it swings open with one touch. That conversation you've been dreading. Thursday, it flows with ease you didn't manufacture. That decision that's been paralyzing you. Thursday, the answer becomes obvious, not because you forced it, but because clarity arrived like morning light. This is what divine delivery looks like. It doesn't ask for your permission. It doesn't wait for your confidence. It simply shows up when heaven says, now. And the most beautiful part, you don't have to perform for it. You don't have to be perfect, polished, or problem-free. God's support isn't a reward for good behavior. It's a response to faithfulness. And you, beloved, have been faithful even when no one was watching. Even when the weight almost crushed you. Even when quitting would have been easier. Thursday is the receipt for every moment you stayed. So when Thursday morning comes, don't rush through it. Don't treat it like just another 24 hours. Walk through it with awareness. Pay attention to the pauses. Notice the shifts. Feel the atmosphere, because something sacred is unfolding, and it's unfolding for you. The question is no longer if God will support you. The question is, will you recognize His hand when it moves? Let me tell you something that the enemy doesn't want you to understand. God supports you. Not just in the mountaintop moments. Not just when the choir's singing and the sun's shining through stained glass. God supports you in the 3 a.m. loneliness when your bones ache and sleep won't come. God supports you in the doctor's waiting room when the news feels heavier than your faith. God supports you when the phone doesn't ring, when the kids forget to call, when the mirror shows you a face you barely recognize anymore. God supports you in the silence, that crushing silence that follows loss, that silence where prayers feel like they're bouncing off the ceiling, that silence where you wonder if anyone remembers your name. He's there, holding you, carrying what you can't. God supports you in the sleepless nights, when your mind won't stop replaying what you should have said, what you should have done, what you've lost. When regret sits on your chest like a stone, when tomorrow feels more like a threat than a promise. Even then, especially then, His hand is under you. God supports you when nobody claps, when you're doing the right thing and no one notices, when you've been faithful for decades and the world's moved on without a thank you, when you've served, given, loved, and the only applause is the echo of your own footsteps down an empty hall. Heaven sees, heaven records, heaven honors what earth ignores. Do you know what the world saw when they looked at you? They saw aging. They saw someone past their prime. They saw limitations. They saw irrelevance. But you want to know what heaven saw? Heaven saw seasoning. They saw wisdom that can only come from walking through fire. They saw strength that can only be forged in the furnace of suffering. They saw a soul refined by time, purified by pain, and ready, finally ready for what's coming this Thursday. Job 12:12 says, "Wisdom is with the aged, and understanding in length of days." The enemy lied to you. He told you that your best years were behind you. He whispered that your purpose expired with your youth. But God doesn't retire his chosen ones. He repositions them. You think you've been sidelined? No, you've been held back. There's a difference. God wasn't benching you, he was protecting you. Because what he's about to release into your life would have destroyed the version of you from 10 years ago. You weren't ready then. But Thursday you are. Listen to me carefully. If you've walked through fire and didn't burn, if you've crossed valleys so dark you couldn't see your own hand in front of your face, if you've stood at gravesides and bankruptcy notices and betrayals that should have broken you, but you're still here, still breathing, still believing, then type these 3 words in the comments right now. He supported me. Let this be a testimony. Let the enemy see that he didn't win. Let heaven witness that God's people know who carried them. Type it. Say it out loud if you have to. He supported me. Because it's not just a statement, it's warfare. It's proof. It's a memorial stone that declares, I didn't make it on my own strength. I was held. Now here's what you need to understand about Thursday. The evidence of God's support will not arrive with trumpets and fanfare. It won't come with a parade down Fifth Avenue or a spotlight on your name. The evidence will be something far more powerful, far more precious than applause. It will be peace that passes understanding. Philippians 4:7 tells us about a peace that doesn't make sense. A peace that shouldn't exist given your circumstances. A peace that the world can't manufacture and hell can't counterfeit. That peace is the fingerprint of divine support. And this Thursday, that peace is going to settle over you like a blanket, and you'll finally exhale years of tension you didn't even know you were holding. You're going to wake up Thursday morning and something will feel different. Not loud, not flashy, but undeniable. The chaos in your mind will quiet. The storm in your spirit will still. And in that stillness, you'll hear it, that gentle whisper that says, I never left you. I never will. The proof won't be that all your problems disappear. The proof will be that you can finally carry them without breaking. The validation won't come from people finally seeing your worth. It will come from you, finally seeing it yourself through heaven's eyes. God hasn't just been watching you survive. He's been strategically positioning every piece of your story, every scar, every setback, every season of silence into a testimony that will speak louder this Thursday than any words ever could. Your life is about to become evidence. So let me ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly in your heart. Are you ready to stop waiting for God to show up and start recognizing that He's already here? Because Thursday isn't about God arriving. It's about you finally seeing what's been true all along. You've been told Thursday is special. But let me go deeper than that. What if I told you that heaven never created ordinary days? What if this Thursday carries encoded, meaning a divine cipher written specifically for the chosen? What if the reason you've been unable to shake this feeling is because your name is embedded in the fabric of this coming day? Listen closely. Heaven doesn't mark calendars the way we do. It doesn't count hours. It counts eras. And this Thursday isn't just the start of another 24-hour cycle. It's the hinge between the life you've known and the life you were destined to walk into. You'll wake up to a morning that doesn't just start hours, it starts epochs. Think about Genesis 1-3. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. One word from heaven, and darkness had no choice but to surrender. One decree, and chaos became order. That's what Thursday represents for you. A divine decree has already been spoken over your life. The light is coming, and when it arrives, every shadow that's been following you will have to flee. The sun won't just rise on Thursday morning. It will announce you. It will break over the horizon like a witness to what heaven has been preparing in secret. You've been walking in twilight for so long, you forgot what dawn feels like. But Thursday is your sunrise. And this time, beloved, you won't be standing in someone else's shadow. You'll be standing in your own light. Let me paint you a picture. Every ocean has tides. The moon pulls the water, and the sea obeys. But did you know there are moments sacred, invisible moments when heaven itself pulls the tide of your life? This Thursday, heaven's tide is turning in your favor. What's been pulled away from you is about to return. What's been withheld is about to overflow. The current that dragged you under is now pushing you forward. But I know what some of you are thinking. I've heard this before. I've believed before. And I've been disappointed before. I hear you. I see you. You thought you were being punished. You thought God had forgotten your address. You thought delay meant denial. But let me tell you what heaven was actually doing while you waited. Aging your wine. In John 2, Jesus didn't turn water into average wine. He turned it into the best wine. And the master of the banquet said, "Everyone brings out the choice wine first, and then the cheaper wine after the guests have had too much to drink. But you have saved the best till now." Do you hear that? You have saved the best till now. Your Thursday isn't late. It's right on time, divine time. The kind of timing that makes everyone who doubted you say, "How did this happen? Where did this come from?" You've been in a season of Ecclesiastes 3:1. To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven. Your weeping had a season, your silence had a season, your wilderness had a season. But seasons don't last forever. They shift, they turn. And Thursday marks the turning. Some of you have been waiting not just months, but decades. You've watched others get promoted while you stayed faithful in obscurity. You've seen doors open for people who didn't pray half as hard as you did. And the enemy whispered, "You're forgotten. You're too old. You're too late." But that's a lie straight from the pit. Moses was 80 when God called him to the burning bush. Abraham was 100 when Isaac was born. You're not late. You're right on divine schedule. Here's what I need you to understand. You've been standing at a threshold you couldn't see. Thursday is that threshold becoming visible. It's the moment when what was promised in the unseen finally crosses over into the seen. I saw something in the spirit as I prepared this message. I saw Thursday like a key turning in a lock, slow, deliberate, and behind that door light cascading like a waterfall. Blinding, beautiful, undeniable, and in that light I saw names, written not in ink but in fire, and yours was there, glowing, pulsing, alive. Psalm 37:6 says, "He will make your righteous reward shine like the dawn, your vindication like the noonday Sunday dawn is breaking, beloved." And it's not just light, it's vindication, it's validation, it's heaven saying, "I saw what they did to you, I saw what you carried, and now I'm going to make it right in front of everyone who said you wouldn't make it." Thursday isn't asking for your permission. It's arriving with purpose. And the only question that matters now is this. Are you ready to step through the door when it swings open? If you feel that fire rising in your chest right now, if something in your spirit just stood up and said, "Yes," then don't stay silent. Type in the comments, "This Thursday unlocks my light." Let heaven hear your agreement before the door opens, because agreement activates authority, and your voice matters more than you know. But here's what we need to talk about next, because Thursday is coming, but so is resistance. Let me tell you something most preachers won't say from the pulpit. God's support doesn't always arrive wrapped in miracles. Sometimes it shows up disguised as interruptions. You've been watching the sky for signs, haven't you? Scanning the horizon for burning bushes, waiting for the clouds to part and trumpets to sound. But what if I told you that this Thursday, God's fingerprints won't be on the spectacular, they'll be on the subtle? What if his voice doesn't thunder through the sanctuary, but whispers through a phone call you almost didn't answer? What if his presence doesn't manifest in a vision, but in a stranger who says exactly what your soul needed to hear at the precise moment you were about to give up? Scripture tells us in 1 Kings 19:12 that Elijah didn't find God in the earthquake or the fire. He found him in a still small voice. The original Hebrew words there translate to a sound of gentle stillness, not absence, not silence, gentle stillness. God moving so quietly that only those paying attention could detect him. This Thursday, you need to understand something critical. The extraordinary often wears the costume of the ordinary. That cup of coffee that tastes different. That morning breeze that hits your face at the exact moment a tear threatens to fall. That song on the radio that speaks your unspoken prayer back to you. These aren't coincidences, chosen one. These are coordinates. Heaven doesn't always shout. Sometimes it arranges. Think about it. When God wanted to save humanity, he didn't send a warrior king riding lightning. He sent a baby in a feeding trough in a nowhere town called Bethlehem. The most extraordinary event in human history looked completely ordinary to everyone who wasn't paying attention. And you've been paying attention. That's why you're still here, still watching. Still believing when everything in your natural mind says to quit. But let me address the voice you've been hearing lately. The one that whispers when you're alone at 2 a.m. The one that says, "What if nothing changes? What if Thursday comes and goes and I'm still stuck? What if I'm the exception to God's promises?" Here's what that voice doesn't want you to know. That thought, that specific fear, is proof that transformation has already begun. The enemy doesn't waste ammunition on people who aren't threats. He whispers loudest right before the reveal. He screams doubt the moment breakthrough is scheduled for delivery. Why? Because he knows something you're about to discover. He knows that this Thursday carries what the Apostle Paul called kairos. Not chronological time, but appointed time, divine timing. The Greek word means the opportune moment. Not just any Thursday, your Thursday. You see, there's something science calls the butterfly effect. One small movement in one place creates massive shifts somewhere else. A butterfly flaps its wings in Brazil, and 2 weeks later, a tornado forms in Texas. Tiny action, enormous consequence. Now apply that to heaven's economy. A single flap of God's wings over your Thursday can reorder everything you thought was random. That conversation you've been avoiding, it might be the hinge. That email sitting in your drafts, it could be the key. That decision you've been postponing, it may be the door. But here's where most people miss it. You're not waiting for God to show up. He's waiting for you to notice he's already here. He's been here in every near miss, every last-minute provision, every time you should have broken but somehow stayed whole. Every moment you felt like giving up, but found just enough strength to take one more step. That wasn't luck, beloved. That was preparation. God positioning you for this exact Thursday. The mailbox, the mirror, the morning commute. Every mundane detail of your day is about to carry the fingerprints of heaven. Because when God supports you, he doesn't just move mountains, he sanctifies the valley you're walking through. Jesus said in Matthew 6:33, "Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added to you." Notice he didn't say seek the miracle, he said seek the kingdom, the atmosphere, the awareness, the alignment. When you align your spirit with Thursday's divine frequency, the ordinary becomes a portal. Your kitchen becomes a sanctuary, your car becomes a prayer closet. Your routine becomes a runway for the supernatural. So right now, yes, right now while you're watching this, I want you to do something. Pause, take a breath, and whisper these words out loud. I see you in this ordinary Thursday. Not because it's magic, but because it's agreement. You're pulling eternity into your atmosphere. You're telling heaven, I'm not just waiting for Thursday, I'm preparing my eyes to recognize what you're about to reveal. Because when God interrupts your ordinary, everything shifts. And Thursday, chosen one, is your interruption date. But what happens when Thursday actually arrives? What do you do when the moment you've been waiting for finally stands in front of you? Let me ask you something that's going to shake the foundation of how you've been seeing your journey. What if every single moment of pain you endured wasn't punishment but payment? What if every tear that fell from your eyes in the midnight hours wasn't wasted water, but seed falling into soil heaven was preparing? You've been looking at your scars like they're evidence of failure. But heaven has been looking at them as receipts, proof of purchase, documentation that you paid the price for something extraordinary that's about to be released. Listen to what the prophet Isaiah declared in chapter 61, verse 3. God promises to give you beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. That's not poetry, beloved. That's policy. That's heaven's exchange rate. And this Thursday, the transaction clears. Every heartbreak you survived, that was a deposit. Every betrayal you forgave, another deposit. Every morning you got up when your body screamed to stay down, deposit, deposit, deposit. You've been making investments in heaven's economy, and you didn't even realize you were building an account. Here's what the world doesn't understand about divine economics. Nothing is lost. In man's system, suffering is waste. But in God's ledger, suffering becomes currency. That depression you fought through for 5 years, heaven recorded it. That spouse you buried and still chose to praise God, documented. That job you lost at 62 and had to start over, filed under faith deposits high value. You think you've been broke. You think you've been running on empty. But let me tell you what's really been happening in the unseen realm. Heaven has been calculating compound interest on your faithfulness. I see it right now in the spirit. Angels balancing ledgers, closing old accounts marked suffering and delay, opening new accounts marked restoration and acceleration. There's a divine audit happening, and when Thursday arrives, the back pay gets released. Years the locusts devoured, being repaid with interest. But here's where it gets personal, and I need you to feel the weight of this. You didn't just survive those years, you sanctified them. You turned pain into prayer. You converted mourning into ministry. You transformed your midnight into a sacrifice that heaven couldn't ignore. You gave when you had almost nothing left in your cupboard. You prayed for others when your own knees were weak. You stayed in that church, in that faith, in that trust, when you had every earthly reason to walk away. That kind of faith doesn't go unnoticed. That kind of tenacity doesn't go unrewarded. The world measures success by what you accumulate, but heaven measures wealth by what you endured and still believed. And beloved, by heaven's standard, you are rich, you are owed, and this Thursday is collection day. Now here's the revelation that changes everything. Are you ready for this? This Thursday is not about receiving back what you lost. It's about receiving who you've become. You've been praying to get back to where you were, but God has been preparing you for where you've never been. The version of you from 10 years ago couldn't handle what's coming this Thursday. That version didn't have the endurance, didn't have the wisdom, didn't have the spiritual muscle. But you do now. You've been forged, refined, tested under pressure until everything weak burned away. What's arriving Thursday isn't a reward for good behavior. It's a release of divine inheritance that only the refined can carry. This is why the wait was necessary. This is why the process was painful. You weren't being punished. You were being prepared for weight, for glory, for responsibility that requires a backbone built in the furnace. So when Thursday comes and you feel that shift, and you will feel it, don't just receive it passively. Recognize what you're holding. It's not luck. It's not chance. It's not finally your turn. It's the return on every moment you chose God, when choosing Him made no logical sense. I want you to do something right now. I want you to say this out loud, and I mean out loud. I am heaven's return on investment. Say it again. Let it rumble in your chest. Let it vibrate in your bones. That declaration just changed the atmosphere in your room. That's not positive thinking. That's prophetic positioning. You are not a charity case waiting for God to feel sorry for you. You are a portfolio heaven has been building for decades. And this Thursday, the dividends come due. But here's what you need to understand before we move forward, and this is critical. If you don't recognize what's coming, you'll miss it when it arrives. So stay close. Because in the next part, I'm going to show you exactly what Thursday's delivery looks like and how to position yourself to receive it with both hands open. You know what terrifies people more than chaos? Silence. The kind that presses against your eardrums at 2 a.m. when the house is empty and your mind won't stop replaying every mistake, every loss, every unanswered prayer. You've been there, haven't you? In that space where God feels absent and your faith feels like a lie you've been telling yourself just to survive another day. But what if I told you that silence isn't abandonment? What if the very emptiness you're drowning in is actually the womb where your miracle is being formed? Listen to me carefully. In every divine moment throughout all of Scripture, there comes silence before sound, calm before the quake, breath before the birth. Before God spoke the world into existence, there was void, formless, empty. Genesis 1-2 says the earth was without form and darkness covered the deep, but the Spirit of God was hovering, not absent, hovering, moving in the dark where no one could see. Thursday may not roar when it arrives. It may whisper. But let me tell you something that will change how you hear God forever. Whispers from the Almighty shake universes. When He whispered to Elijah in 1 Kings 19, it wasn't in the earthquake or the fire, it was in the still, small voice. And that whisper redirected a prophet's entire destiny. You've been waiting for thunder. God's been speaking in stillness. Here's what most people miss about divine timing. Heaven performs its greatest miracles when we're under anesthesia. When Abraham was in deep sleep, God cut covenant with him in Genesis 15. When Adam was unconscious, God extracted his rib and created Eve. When Jesus was in the tomb dead, cold, finished, that's when resurrection was being prepared. The greatest movements of God happen when you feel nothing. You call it numbness. God calls it peace, learning your name. I know what you're thinking right now. But I've been still for so long. I've been silent. I've been waiting. And nothing has changed. You're measuring movement by what your eyes can see. But Ecclesiastes 3:11 reminds us that God has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart. Yet no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end. You can't see it yet because you're standing too close to the canvas. Thursday is when you step back and see the masterpiece. This stillness you're experiencing isn't the absence of movement. It's the gathering of momentum. Have you ever watched a storm roll in across the plains? There's always that eerie calm right before it hits. The air gets heavy, the wind stops, birds go silent. But beneath that stillness, atmospheric pressure is building. Clouds are colliding, energy is collecting, and then everything breaks loose. That's where you are right now. In the cosmic pause before heaven releases what it's been holding back. But I need to talk to those of you who aren't just still, you're stuck. You're not at peace, you're in pain. You're not resting, you're rotting. You've been calling it depression, isolation, defeat. You wake up and the weight on your chest feels like concrete. You look in the mirror and don't recognize the person staring back. You've prayed until your voice gave out, and heaven felt like a locked door. Can I tell you what God sees when He looks at you right now? He sees Lazarus in the tomb, 4 days dead, wrapped in grave clothes, stinking of decay, and He's standing outside saying, "This sickness is not unto death, but for the glory of God." John 11:4. Your situation isn't the end of your story, it's the setup for your testimony. If you feel nothing right now, it's because heaven's anesthetic is still working. Stay still. Resurrection is next. You think you're buried. God says you're planted. You think you're forgotten. God says you're being positioned. You think it's over. God says, "Not yet, I'm not done with this one." Thursday is coming, and it's not asking for your permission. It's arriving whether you feel ready or not, whether you understand or not, whether you believe it or not. Because this moment was written before you were born. Jeremiah 29:11 wasn't just a pretty verse for a greeting card, it was a prophetic declaration. "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." This stillness isn't punishment, it's preparation. If you understand what I'm saying, if something deep in your spirit just cracked open, type, "I'm in the stillness right now." Don't overthink it. The world calls it waiting. Heaven calls it incubation. And what's being formed inside this silence will astound everyone who counted you out. Because Thursday isn't just another day. It's the day heaven speaks your name out loud. And when God calls you, even death has to let go. Listen closely. Chosen one. Right now, while you're hearing these words, something is shifting in the unseen realm. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready. Right now, there's a reason you felt restless this week. There's a reason sleep has been broken. There's a reason you've been reaching for your phone at odd hours, searching for something you can't name. Your spirit has been receiving downloads that your mind hasn't decoded yet. Thursday isn't coming to find you unprepared. Thursday is coming because you've already been prepared. But here's what most people miss. They think divine support means God does everything while they do nothing. They think favor means sitting back and watching miracles fall from the sky like rain. That's not how heaven operates. That's not how covenant works. And that's not what Thursday is about. Let me take you to Exodus 14, verse 15. The Israelites are trapped. The Red Sea is in front of them. Pharaoh's army is behind them. And Moses is praying hard, desperate, loud prayers. And God says something that shocks him. "Why are you crying out to me? Tell the Israelites to move forward." Did you catch that? God didn't part the sea while they sat still. He told them to move toward it. The miracle didn't happen until their feet hit the sand. The water didn't split until they stepped forward in faith. That's your Thursday. God has already decreed the support. He's already signed the release form in heaven. But He's waiting for you to step forward. He's waiting for you to stop asking if you're worthy and start walking like you already are. You want to know what Thursday really is? Thursday is your Red Sea moment. Not the moment you sit and hope. The moment you rise and move. The moment you stop being a spectator of your own destiny and become a participant in divine orchestration. Picture this. It's early Thursday morning. You wake up, and for the first time in weeks, there's no heaviness on your chest. The air feels different, lighter, clearer. You walk to the window, and the sun is breaking through clouds that have hung over your life for months. And something inside you knows this isn't weather, this is atmosphere. This is heaven rearranging your reality. You'll feel it in your bones. Peace will enter your spirit louder than panic ever did. Doubt will try to whisper, but it won't find a frequency to land on anymore. That's because you're no longer tuned to fear. You're calibrated to faith. But here's where it gets deeper. You're not waiting for Thursday to bless you. Thursday is waiting for you to bless it. Your words are not just sounds, they're seeds. Your prayers are not just requests, they're declarations that shift the atmosphere. When you speak life over Thursday, you're not hoping something happens. You're prophesying something into existence. Proverbs 18:21 says, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue, not in the power of circumstances, not in the power of other people's opinions, in your tongue." What you say about Thursday will determine what Thursday becomes. So let me ask you something, and I need you to answer this honestly, even if it's just in your spirit. Have you been speaking defeat over your week? Have you been saying, it's just another Thursday? Have you been calling it ordinary when God has called it extraordinary? Stop right there. Your shadow is about to carry light, not metaphorically, literally. Acts 5:15 tells us that Peter's shadow healed people. Not his hands, not his voice, his shadow. Why? Because he carried so much of God's presence that even what followed him had power. That's you this Thursday. You think you're just going to work, just running errands, just moving through your day. But everywhere you walk, you're leaving traces of divine energy. Every conversation you have, you're planting seeds. Every room you enter, the atmosphere shifts. You are not ordinary. You are marked. And Thursday will prove it. Now here's the twist you didn't see coming. You thought this message was about God supporting you, and it is. But heaven just whispered something else to me. You are God's support system for others. You heard me right. This Thursday isn't just for you. It's through you. Someone in your life is barely holding on. Someone is one bad day away from giving up. Someone is sitting in their car right now, tears streaming down their face, asking God if he still sees them. And guess what? You're the answer they're about to encounter. You're not the one waiting for a miracle. You're the miracle they've been praying for. Your words on Thursday will save someone's life. Your presence will redirect someone's path. Your peace will break someone's panic. This is not pressure. This is purpose. God didn't support you just so you could feel good. He supported you so you could carry that support to others. You are not the end of the blessing. You are the beginning of its distribution. So when Thursday comes, don't just receive. Release. Don't just take in the favor. Pour it out. Let your life become evidence that God still moves, still heals, still restores, still delivers. If you're ready to stop being passive and start being powerful, if you're ready to let Thursday transform not just you but everyone around you, then type this in the comments right now. I carry his support now. Not because you're perfect, but because you're chosen. And chosen ones don't just receive support, they become it. Listen to me carefully, chosen one. There's something I need you to understand about Thursday that goes deeper than favor, deeper than blessing, deeper than breakthrough. Thursday isn't just about what you're going to receive. Thursday is about who you're going to become. You see, somewhere along the way, the world told you that getting older means slowing down, that your 70s and 80s are about wrapping up, winding down, fading quietly into the background. They told you your best days are monuments in the rearview mirror. They told you to sit down, stay comfortable, don't make waves. But God never called you to retire from purpose. You were never meant to age into silence. You were meant to mature into legacy. And this Thursday, heaven is handing you an assignment that will ripple through generations you'll never meet with your natural eyes. Do you know what God does with people your age? He doesn't shelf them. He commissions them. Moses was 80 years old when God met him at the burning bush and said, "Now go." 80, not 20, not 40, 80. The world would have given him a gold watch and a rocking chair, but God gave him a nation. Anna the prophetess was 84 when she stood in that temple and recognized the Messiah. 84 years of waiting, watching, praying. And in one moment, she became the voice that announced salvation to Jerusalem. Her age wasn't her disqualification, it was her credential. Abraham was 100 years old when Isaac, the child of promise, the seed of destiny, cried for the first time. 100. The laugh of doubt became the sound of legacy. So tell me something. Why would you believe the lie that you're too old, too tired, too late? Why would you think God brought you this far just to bench you in the fourth quarter? This Thursday is your burning bush moment. It's not just a day marked on the calendar. It's a commissioning ceremony. God isn't just restoring what you lost. He's activating what you carry. And what you carry isn't just for you. It's for someone who's drowning in silence right now, waiting for a voice that sounds like yours. It's for someone who needs to hear from someone who's been through the fire and came out still believing. Here's what I want you to do, and I need you to take this seriously. Before Thursday arrives, I want you to write down one name, just one. A name of someone God places on your heart. It could be a child, a grandchild, a neighbor, a stranger you've seen but never spoken to. Write that name on a piece of paper. Hold it in your hand. Pray over it. Because on Thursday, you're going to reach out to that person. You're going to call them, text them, show up at their door if you have to. And you're going to speak life. You're going to be the voice of heaven in their wilderness. You don't need a theology degree for this. You just need obedience. Your obedience activates someone else's miracle. Do you understand the weight of that? Someone's breakthrough is tied to your willingness to move. Someone's deliverance is connected to your courage to speak. God doesn't need your perfection. He needs your participation. This isn't about you feeling ready. Moses didn't feel ready. Gideon didn't feel ready. Esther didn't feel ready. But they said yes anyway. And nations shifted because one person stopped waiting for confidence and started walking in obedience. You've lived long enough to know that life doesn't give you do-overs. You know what regret tastes like. You know what it feels like to wish you'd spoken up, reached out, said the thing you were too afraid to say. Thursday is your chance to break that cycle. Thursday is your chance to be the answer to someone's desperate prayer. God didn't preserve your life through every storm, every loss, every betrayal, every diagnosis just so you could watch TV and wait for heaven. He preserved you because there's a mission only you can complete. There are people only you can reach. There are words only you can speak. You're not ending, you're being enlisted. This isn't the sunset of your life. This is the commissioning of your assignment. And every year you've lived, every scar you've carried, every tear you've cried, it's all been training. You didn't waste your pain, you weaponized it. And now God is saying, go, speak, touch, heal, deliver, in my name. So let me ask you directly, are you going to let Thursday pass like every other day? Or are you going to step into the role heaven has been preparing you for? If you know in your spirit that this isn't just about receiving a blessing, if you know this is about becoming a blessing, then type, I accept the mission right now. Don't just watch this message, participate in it. Let heaven know you're not sitting this one out. Because what's coming Thursday isn't just for you, it's through you, and the world is waiting for you to remember who you are. Let me tell you what Thursday will feel like, chosen one. It won't come with lightning splitting the sky. It won't arrive with trumpets blaring from heaven's gate. No, Thursday will come the way fire moves through still water, silent, undeniable, transforming everything it touches without making a sound. Fire without noise, peace without proof. That's the signature of God's most powerful work. You see, the world taught you that miracles must be loud. That breakthrough has to look like an explosion. That favor needs to announce itself with fanfare. But Thursday isn't coming to impress anyone else. It's coming to find you. And when God moves personally, He moves quietly, because what He's delivering doesn't need validation. It needs reception. You've been waiting for something you could post about, something you could show, something that would silence the voices that doubted you. But here's what I need you to understand. The most profound shifts happen in the invisible first. Before anyone sees the fruit, the root has already changed. Before the harvest appears, the soil has already been prepared. Thursday is root work, foundation work, the kind of transformation that doesn't photograph well but changes your life permanently. In John 14:27, Jesus said, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives." Did you catch that? Not as the world gives. The world gives you noise disguised as peace. The world gives you distraction masked as comfort. But what God gives you Thursday won't fit in any box the world recognizes. It will feel too subtle to be powerful, too quiet to be real. And that's exactly how you'll know it came from Him. You'll wonder if you imagined it. You'll question whether it was just your mind playing tricks. You'll look for external proof and find none at first. And that doubt, beloved, that whisper of, "Was that real?" That's how you'll know heaven touched you. Because the enemy doesn't make you question what's fake, he makes you question what's true. Let me take you back for a moment. Remember how you felt when this message began? That weight in your chest, that pull you couldn't explain, that sudden awareness that something was speaking directly to your soul. That wasn't coincidence, that wasn't algorithm, that wasn't me. That was God whispering your name through the noise. And every breath you've taken since then, every word you've absorbed, every second you've stayed present, it's all been building to this Thursday. Not because I said so, because your spirit has been in agreement the entire time. Your soul knew before your mind did. That's why you didn't scroll. That's why you're still here. Heaven doesn't shout at the chosen. It whispers, and only those with ears tuned to the frequency can hear it. Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." Not be loud and prove that I am God. Not be busy and earn that I am God. Be still, because in the stillness you finally hear what's been said over you all along. Thursday is your invitation into that stillness, into that knowing, into that fire that burns without consuming, that warms without destroying, that reshapes without breaking. You've survived the storms, you've endured the silence, you've carried crosses no one gave you credit for. But you didn't do it for credit. You did it because something in you refused to quit, even when quitting made sense. That refusal wasn't stubbornness, it was prophecy. Your spirit knew Thursday was coming long before your mind believed it. And now, here we are, on the edge of it, one breath away from the moment you've been built for. Some of you are crying right now. Let those tears fall. They're not weakness, they're worship. They're the release of every ounce of pressure you've been holding, every weight you've carried in secret, every burden you've borne without complaint. God sees those tears. He's been collecting them, and Thursday, He's turning them into fuel for what's next. If this word found you tonight, if it pierced through the walls you built, if it named something you thought was unspeakable, don't let this moment pass without marking it. Comment below. He found me too. Because you didn't stumble into this message by accident. Destiny doesn't work that way. It doesn't wait for you to find it. It hunts you down. It corners you. It whispers your name until you finally stop running and turn around. And when you do, you realize it was never chasing you to harm you. It was chasing you to claim you. Thursday isn't just a day, chosen one. It's a threshold. And you're standing right at the edge of it, breath held, spirit open, ready to step through. So let me ask you this. What if everything you've survived was just the rehearsal? What if Thursday is opening night? Chosen one, we've walked a sacred path together through these words. And before you close this page, before you return to the noise of the world, I need you to hold on to 3 unshakable truths. First, Thursday is not ordinary. It carries divine weight, holy orchestration, and a seal with your name on it. Heaven has been preparing this moment while you've been enduring the wait. Second, what you feel in your spirit right now, that stirring, that pull, that quiet knowing, is not your imagination. It's divine confirmation. God doesn't whisper to those He's forgotten. He whispers to those He's about to promote. Third, you are not walking into Thursday alone. Every step you take is covered. Every breath you draw is measured. Every move you make is backed by the God who numbers the hairs on your head and calls the stars by name. But here's what I need you to understand with every fiber of your being. You are not alone in this journey. The isolation you felt, the silence you've endured, the nights you've cried with no witness, God saw it all. And not only did He see it, He was right there with you, collecting every tear, recording every prayer, preparing Thursday as your answer. And beyond heaven's presence, there's a community right here. Thousands who've felt exactly what you're feeling. Thousands who've questioned the same doubts, carried the same weight, wondered if they were crazy for believing something invisible was real. You're surrounded by a cloud of witnesses who understand your language, who recognize your struggle, who are ready to stand with you in prayer. So let me ask you something that might shake loose whatever's left holding you back. What would your life look like if you stopped waiting for permission to believe that Thursday is really yours? What if you woke up that morning not hoping it would be different, but knowing it already is? What if you stepped into that day not as someone begging for breakthrough, but as someone walking into an appointment that heaven already confirmed? Take a breath with me right now. Close your eyes if you're in a place where you can. And let me pray over you, not as a stranger, but as someone who's stood where you're standing, who's felt what you're feeling, who knows that what you need isn't more information, it's impartation. Father God, creator of time and keeper of promises, I stand in the gap right now for every soul reading these words. I place my hand on their shoulder in the Spirit, and I speak life over their Thursday. I speak clarity over their confusion. I speak breakthrough over their barriers. Lord, they've been carrying weight that wasn't theirs to carry. They've been fighting battles that no one applauded. They've been believing when belief made no logical sense. But you see them. You've always seen them. And this Thursday, let them feel your presence so powerfully that doubt has nowhere to hide. Open doors that no man can shut. Align circumstances that only your hand could orchestrate. Bring people into their path who carry the keys they've been searching for. Let Thursday be the day when the invisible becomes visible, when the promise becomes tangible, when faith becomes sight. Protect their peace as they wait. Silence the voices of fear and condemnation. Remind them that they are chosen, covered, and called by name. And when Thursday dawns, let them wake with the knowing that you've gone before them, that you're walking beside them, and that you're already celebrating what's about to unfold. We don't ask for easy, Lord. We ask for evident. Make your presence so clear that they can't miss it. Make your support so undeniable that it silences every doubt. In the mighty name of Jesus, who holds Thursday in his hands just as surely as he holds their hearts, we declare it done. We receive it. We walk in it. Amen. Chosen one. If this word has stirred something deep in your soul, don't keep it to yourself. Drop a comment below and tell me, Thursday is mine. Let me see your faith. Let this community see your courage, because when you declare it, you activate it. Your words have power, and your agreement with heaven sets forces in motion. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, someone who's been waiting, someone who's been doubting, someone who's been wondering if God still sees them, share this message. Send it to them. Let them know they're not alone. Let them know Thursday is coming for them too. Before you go, if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel. Hit that notification bell, because every week we're diving deeper into the mysteries of faith, the secrets of the chosen, and the strategies heaven is releasing for this generation. Don't miss what's coming next. Thank you for being here. Thank you for staying. Thank you for believing even when it didn't make sense. Your presence matters, your faith matters, your Thursday matters. Now go. Rest in the knowing that heaven is moving. And when Thursday comes, don't just survive it. Step into it like the chosen one you are.